Hi, I'm Matthew. This is my Vittorazi Fly Evo 100 Paramotor. I'm making a little video to show how to work the primer on this motor, and also just demonstrate that it's very easy to start and then it runs well. Also, by the way, this motor has the propeller on it that I've repaired. You can kind of see some of the repair work here. It's actually very smooth. It's been I put polyurethane over it, and it's in really good condition overall. There's also, I put electrical tape on the edges that keeps some of the dings off of it. But this propeller is fly at your own risk, because I did repair it. There's two other virtually brand new propellers that come with the motor. So regarding the primer, there's a little plastic pincher here you have to squeeze on to release or to open up an available flow of fuel through this little hose here. And what you do is you'll squeeze that, and then you'll push on the little primer bulb, which is a little pump. And as you do that, it will pump fuel down from the gas tank up through the main fuel line here. And once the fuel from the gas tank gets up near the carburetor, it will split, and part of it will squirt directly into the carburetor. And what that does is it brings all the fuel up near to the carburetor and then puts some directly into the carburetor. So when you go to start it, it starts quickly, and then the carburetor just has to pump a little bit more fuel, which again is already near the carburetor, into the carburetor, and it'll continue running like that. Now this motor does not have a decompressor valve, which is common on a lot of paramotors. It's not really necessary on this motor because it's fairly small. But when you pull on it to start it, sometimes the pull feels a little jerky because it doesn't have that decompressor valve on it. So here, I'm gonna. This motor, by the way, has not been started in about a week. Put my hand all over it. It's not hot. The plan here is to prime it and show you how long it actually takes, like how many pulls it actually takes to start. It usually starts quite quickly within 1 or 2 pulls. So again, so I'm going to squeeze the pinch valve and pump the gas, and I'm going to watch for it coming up this hose. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Actually, I was pointing at the wrong hose. The actual fuel line, I can see the fuel now is coming up through this line. This hose is actually a little air pump that's used to, it goes from the motor to the carburetor to actually work the diaphragm in the carburetor that pumps the fuel. So anyway, as I pump this, I can see the fuel has come up through the line. It's now going through the hose and into the carburetor. You can usually just put maybe 2 squirts, 3 squirts of fuel into the carburetor, and that's enough to prime it. So now I'm just going to kind of get part of the harness out of the way. By the way, before you start the motor, you always give a full squeeze on the throttle. Make sure that the throttle linkage down at the carburetor is actually working properly and is returning all the way to idle. Make sure nothing's stuck. You don't want the motor to turn on and then go to full throttle immediately. It looks good. So here's the full starter cable, and I'm going to give it some pulls and try to get her going. There you go. motor. The idle speed on this motor right now is around 2600 RPM. You can see that's enough speed to make the propeller turn gently. I don't recommend doing this, but the propeller is actually moving fairly slowly on the clutch power. Don't ever stick your hand in there like that. Just trying to demonstrate that it's kind of barely spinning the propeller. So let it warm up a little bit. Take it to full throttle yet, because I want to let the motor warm up. It's a good idea to let the various metal pieces inside the motor warm up the operating temperature before you try to run it at full RPM. Right now the mixture is dialed in pretty good. Well, by the way, we're at about 6,800 feet right now on a 80-degree day in Colorado. It's a good chance that wherever this motor ends up is going to be at a lower altitude, which will tend to lean out the mixture, which is bad for motors. So you need to make sure to adjust the mixture and richen it, make your altitude. Motors that run lean also run hot and they will burn up. So we give it some RPMs and just show that the motor is working pretty well. It's got pretty good response. The red button. Now that it's warm up, I'll give it another pull and just show that it starts. Should start fairly easily at this point. Let's restart. Usually after the motor's warmed up, you don't need to prime it to restart it because there's already fuel up in the lines now. It hasn't, over time it will recede back down into the tank. So if you don't prime it, there's no gas to start the motor. It basically won't start. You have to make sure you use the primer to pump the fuel up to the carburetor before you start it. But again, since it's already running, all the fuel's there, it'll restart nice and easy. There you go.